So in this section, we're going to go over just the agent settings. It's going to look a little bit different for inbound. You'll have fewer, but it's better to go over this. That way you understand all the ones that are out there and you'll understand the ones that are missing in inbound. First is going to be the first sentence. I highly recommend using this. It's going to create a lower latency and it's going to help the agent know where to pick up the conversation. And just as far as custom fields go, as long as it's linked and mapped, you could just do hello name. It's going to pull the first name from the contact and use it. I wouldn't recommend making this too long. There is a character limit, so if it ever doesn't save, a lot of times that's why. The other thing you're able to do here is select what happens when you reach a voicemail. 99.9% of the time, you're going to want to hang up. Very rarely do you want to leave a message. Max duration, this is going to limit the length of the call. So the second it hits 10 minutes, it's just going to end the call. There's no notice, no nothing. So just be aware of how that works. Languages, pretty self-explanatory. A lot of different languages you can use. Model, I highly recommend using Enhanced. You have some other models as well. Enhanced and GPT-4 are the only ones that are going to work well with like tools, right? Custom tools, transfers, anything that's a little bit more complex. Action calling, you want to use Enhanced or GPT-4. Pathway, if you guys have created pathways, you're going to want to input the pathway ID into this section. Voice speed, pretty self-explanatory. Rarely do you want to change this, but maybe you want to slow it down or speed it up a little bit. It's going to control the speed of the voice. Interruption threshold. This increases the amount of interruption it takes to stop the agent from talking. So it's sort of a double-edged sword in that you obviously want lower latency agents, but you also don't want them to be interrupted too easily. So typically, if there's not a lot of information gathering, it's better to keep it lower, 50 to 100. If you're gathering a lot of information and you're asking, a lot of questions, it might not be a bad idea to bump it up, but I just recommend trial and error, testing it to see what works best for you. Temperature is going to be variability in agent response. So the higher it is, the more variable, the lower, the less variable. I recommend if you have a very strict script, very strict instructions that you need it to follow, you probably want to set this lower. If you want the agent to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit human, there's more of an objective than just following a script or very clear instructions. You could put this a little bit higher and it'll get some different responses. Wait for greeting. This is as soon as the call gets picked up, it's either going to start talking if you have true, or it's going to start talking once the person starts talking if you select false. I'm sorry, vice versa. Flip side on that. AMD, you can use this if you're going to navigate IVR trees. Very rarely are you going to use this, but it's true if you want to navigate it. False, 99.9% of the time. That's what you're going to want here. Block interruptions. This is going to make it so the agent's going to finish what it's saying no matter what. The person will not be able to interrupt it if you use block interruptions as true. These I would not touch. You could play around with them. It's just going to optimize the agent for voice quality or speed. I always recommend speed. This is such a minor difference. It'll kind of change the way certain words are pronounced. Stability is the inflections in the voice. So I usually leave it at 0.6, but if you go any lower than that, you're going to notice more emotion. You might get some strange inflections if you go lower. If you go higher, you're going to get more of a monotone voice. Similarity is going to be how similar it is to the original voice that was used. This is up to you. Doesn't really make too big of a difference, but I usually leave it at 0.8. So that is the call settings.